You have the attendance.
Yes.
So I'll turn it over to the Executive Director, Brian, to give us an update.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate everyone's time and attention, and we will be as efficient as possible. So a draft was sent out yesterday morning, and I think, as Hannah mentioned, we got a few folks who sent in comments already. Thank you for those. We could do this Amazon style if you like, sir, and take 10 minutes for everyone to kind of read it, and then come back at like 10:15 and talk about it. Does that work for everybody?
Hey, I just have a question, Brian.
Yeah.
The executive summary was completely different from the last draft. So what was happening with that?
So the executive summary was highlighted last time, which meant it hadn't been rewritten. That was actually the executive summary from last year.
Well, that was really good. It was much better than what is in there now. So okay. Obviously, I'm just saying, because I used to write these things, not that that means anything, but it was really balanced and it hit all the points. And I thought it had some really good language in there about safety. So, and the new one's just about 1/13 of this and 1/13 of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, it's the committee's document, not mine. And so why is my video off? If folks, Zoom is unable to detect the camera. Oh, good. Most people prefer me this way. If you folks want to go back to the one from last time, that's fine. But again, it's, we can also take some time and read it if everyone hasn't had a chance to read it, and sort of discuss it then. Whatever you want to do, Mr. Chairman, we can certainly do that.
I had no problem with taking 10 minutes to take some time and review it again. This is with the edits that were recommended?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
Whoa.
Is everyone else okay with that? I know, Tracy, you had some slight concern, but are you okay with that?
Yeah, reading it is fine. Most people probably didn't compare it to the executive summary on the prior draft, not this one, but the one we got before this, which was really the text from last year's executive summary. But I'm just telling you, it's much stronger. So maybe if we, what we have now doesn't say much about policy, or just read the executive summary. You'll see.
Okay, thank you. Let's all take 10 minutes. We'll get back in 10:17 and 10:20.
Just to make sure I'm looking at the right one, Tracy, I think you were talking about the executive summary. It looks like this, right? It's this one.
Yeah, that's the one from last year, right?
Is this the most current one? I got one that's dated.
Wait a minute.
May 16th.
It should be dated the 28th.
28th of May?
In the title of April, yeah.
Okay, let me find it. I'm guessing it was in the invitation to this meeting.
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, it's dated 4/30/25, excuse me.
25, correct?
Yeah, 4/30/25.
There's one dated 4/30/25.
It's either, I think the 4/28 and 4/30 are the same exact.
Yeah, there's an email from Hannah that came out yesterday. It has something dated the 28th. That's the correct one?
Yes.
Okay.
And if I could just ask, so I've reviewed this one already, but to Tracy's point, which is the document that you're referring to? What is the date on that one?
It would be 4/15.
4/15. Okay.
We'll be back in 10.
All right, just for a point of reference, what the thing I just screen shared is the version that was in the email from Hannah yesterday.
Cool.
Correct.
And the title is dated 4/28, but the cover page is dated May 16th, 2025.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, very good. Thank you.
But just for clarification, does not include any edits from yesterday?
Hannah, you're gonna have to help me out here, Isabella. I'm not sure if we got your stuff in there, Frank, but we did certainly receive them, and I'm not sure if the version that was shared has them or not, but we'll certainly incorporate them into any final version.
Okay.
Do you want us to share Frank's version into the
Nope.
chat or no?
No, no, let's keep this as simple as we can.
Okay.
Well, the good news is I got my camera to work. The bad news is I'm upside down.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. I'm not sure if everyone had a chance, if they need more time.
Well, I got my camera to work, so sorry about
That's
that.
most important today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm right side up. Well, at least this way, not metaphysically.
The beach picture made me feel much better though, so.
It wasn't Revere Beach, unfortunately. Maybe this summer.
Um, so I guess I'll go around. Does anyone have any comments? Any, Ozzy?
Yeah, I got a couple. I'll just start by saying in general, I think this is excellent. I think really good. Really just three comments, none super substantive. Feel free to disagree. In the first paragraph, where we call out the advisory board has called attention for at least a decade. I just kind of remind us that many MBTA managers haven't been here for a decade, right? And someone working in government, that can strongly sting. I might semicolon or hyphen and add just and strongly supports, right? Give them a little positivity to read out. It sounds silly, but a little bit of positivity in that first paragraph might make the rest of the stuff land very well. The other comment is, let me scroll down. The last sentence in the introduction paragraph, what is the vision for public transportation in and around Boston? I would hit the space bar, separate that. I would italicize and underline that. Make that the strong statement to carry through. And then a couple paragraphs down, you could just search head house. I think you have to pluralize head house. Other than that, I think it looks really good, both in content and context. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll just add, because I'm always blunt, and I was a manager in the state transportation building. I'm not worried about their feelings at all. That's the job. You do the job, and there are a lot of problems right now, and a lot of it has to do. There's structural issues that go back to the big dig. A lot of them, and the debt service. So they're doing the best they can do, but I'm not worried about their feelings. So that's just my comment, Ozzy.
Tracy, I'm not either. It's about communication and messages being received. That's all it is, right? And I'll say, as someone who gets these letters from the trucking community and freight community, the ones that start off at least professional and nice, I'm much more likely to pick up the phone and have a conversation with them and get to yes in a quicker, easier way. That's all I'm saying.
I guess I'll go next. So this is great work. I appreciate that. I was going to, Ozzy, you mentioned one of the things about the vision. I think, using bold or italics or whatever, judiciously, I think can be very effective. The one thing that really caught my eye in reading this was Massachusetts is the only state in the country, right, that doesn't have this. That might be another opportunity just to, you don't want to use a ton of italics or bold, but like, what are the two really big things? The other thing too, and I want to make sure I interpreted this correctly, and I realize who the audience of this is going to be, are people with a lot more expertise than me, but the way I interpret that, the manner in which we fund it is we're funding capital through issuing debt. Yes. Putting it in plain English, that's like paying off one credit card with another one, right? And it gets you, and make sure I understand that correctly. It becomes this endless loop, right? And I think if putting it in something like plain English like that might be pretty effective to be like, hey, everybody, this is what we're dealing with, and we're talking about billions of dollars with this. So my two things, other than that, I thought it was great. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, you got the analysis right, Dan. It's using one credit card to pay another is a great analogy. And that's what we've been doing for the last 25 years, and it hasn't worked, and there's no evidence it will work.
Sorry, I was on mute. I know that the intended audience for this, right, that they kind of understand this, but the people from the general public might end up picking this thing up too. And I think seeing it in that lingo is really it might actually drive it home for them. So take it under advisement. That's all. I think that's all I had on this.
Thank you.
Sure. So Tracy, your comments you made at the outset about the original being different than this one, are you referring to the appendix?
I'm
Or
talking
what-
about I was just talking about the executive section, executive summary section, and then the conclusion. Maybe you could put that up, the one that Hannah sent out on April 15th, or for the April.
I will certainly try to put them both up.
So we can just look at the executive summary and then conclusion on that.
Yep. Hey, there we are. So yellow is the 15th, and not yellow is yesterday stroke today. So the yellow is what is in the report from last year that this committee and the advisory board adopted. If folks remember last year, the track improvement program on subway had not taken place. We were still dealing with the 2023 fallout from the Federal Transit Administration safety probe that basically said that the T was unsafe. At the time, they had something like 45 open corrective action plan items. That number this year, according to at the least of the last board meeting, is down to like 12. So the T has made significant progress in terms of safety, and I'm on the record saying that publicly on the radio and in the press. So I guess I'm a little reticent to sort of focus on the safety piece again. The system is significantly safer than it was. With that said, again, this is not my report, it's yours. And if folks want to rewrite it, take it away. My job here is to offer suggestions. I guess I would just suggest that what this CIP is not visionary, right? It's nuts and bolts. And this is what Phil Ang, as the general manager, is all about. He's not about a broad vision. He's actually, from what I understand, pushed away from having any sort of expansion or even consideration of expansion or even planning to focus really on things like signals and track and power and bus facilities, which are critically important. So, you know, trying to find the balance between those two is always a challenge. What I'm trying to get at in the document as a whole, and the executive summary in particular, is the fact that a nuts and bolts plan is great and it's needed and it's something that we've advocated for a long time, but it has to be based on an overall vision, an overall strategy, and an overall idea of where we are headed. Hope is not a strategy. And I think right now the hope is that if we do all this stuff and we knit the system together, it'll get better. But again, I'm wide open to your suggestions, and tell me how you want to go, folks.
I just have a question. I understand completely what you're saying about the FTA process and that they worked with the feds to improve the situation. I did see your quote on the derailings. What year was that when there were 44?
Last year, 2024.
Right. So I don't see, I mean, I understand your statement and that you have to say certain things politically, but 44 derailings in 2024, that's not good safety.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
spin.
I couldn't hear you, Tracy. There were 44 corrective action things in 2024, corrective action points that they had to address. I don't know the number of derailments on the green line. It is increased. However, the vast majority of those were non-powered work cars that fell off the tracks, and folks went over, picked them up, and put them back on the tracks. So they were not passenger-facing derailments. Nobody was in any sort of danger, and it's just the nature of those carts that fall off the track. I take your point that any derailment is unacceptable, but I guess there are gradations, and those could have been a lot worse.
So I think the article, I'll have to go back and look, that you were quoted in.
Mhm.
I think the article that I read that you were quoted in, 44 was the number of derailings, but I'll have to check it.
I don't remember exactly, but it is the highest in the nation. That's for
By
sure.
far, it is
Yep.
by far the highest in the nation. It's completely unacceptable.
Yep.
And I err on the side of caution thinking about the public in cities and towns. And I think we need to put some stronger language in about safety, personally.
Cool.
Maybe you don't have to use the same language, but I think we need to make some statements about safety in the executive summary and probably in the conclusion. You don't have to
Fair.
like light that hair on fire, but I don't think we should pretend that it's not an issue. It's a huge issue. Not to mention still, I mean, the on the South Shore, the latest commuter rail extension, that's great, you know, politically, ribbon cutting, all that stuff, but it's barely operating from what I read. Because what you don't have the budget to pay to Keolis doesn't have the dollars, what to pay people to staff the trains. I don't know what's going on with that, but it's also another thing where people aren't thinking about, they're thinking politically, okay, which is what people do, let's face it. But let's think about this from the standpoint of cities and towns and what kind of service they're getting and is it safe?
Okay. Any other feedback?
Yeah, so I sent a few comment editorial mostly to Brian yesterday. But mostly I thought in the executive summary, the first paragraph where it says we're recommending approval, that we either underline or bold that. In the same thing where at the end, when we talk about making a recommendation to the full board that we recommend approval, that, you know, we kind of highlight that by underlining or bolding those statements. Everything else I think is fairly editorial that I had sent. And the only other thing is on the commuter rail on page 10 regarding the $679 million that's being spent on drawbridges. I think it's not just design, but also construction.
Okay.
And that, because 679 million just for design doesn't make sense. I think
I'll have a look at that, Frank.
yeah, I think it
You're-
includes construction.
You're probably right.
And I don't think that includes the federal share, because it's over $1 billion, I think, in the Draw One project.
Yep. So you know what I'll do? I'll just take the word design and just put 679 million towards the replacement.
Okay, yeah, that works. And everything else I think was
That'll work.
editorial. Now we're actually going to meet on the 16th.
Yep.
As a full board. So this, I guess, will be presented then.
Yeah, so the timeline is there's one more meeting scheduled, which again, you don't have to do. It's on May 7th. At that point, the committee should approve a draft that will be forwarded to the full advisory board for its consideration at the meeting on the 16th. Traditionally, someone from the committee talks about it to the full board. If folks aren't comfortable doing that, I'm more than happy to do so on your behalf. At that point, assuming the advisory board approves the draft, it becomes an official report of the advisory board. And we then present it to the MBTA's board of directors at their public meeting in late May. And again, that someone from the committee is invited to do that. Mayor Keefe, you can do that if you're comfortable. You can do it online. We can set that up for you, or you can do it in person. Or if no one is able to for scheduling reasons, I'm happy to do it on behalf of the organization. And that's where we sort of publicly lay out what our concerns are. Ultimately, we say that we recommend that the full MBTA advisory board approve it, that the full MBTA board of directors approve it, but we do try to express our concerns there, and that generally gets picked up by the media and talked about.
Brian, could you show us the conclusions on both of these documents? Just
Sure.
roll in.
I'm gonna apologies for any vertigo as I scroll down. Let me just move this over. Whoa. Yep. And again, it's last year in yellow and this year draft in non-yellow.
And I'm assuming you've heard from all 178 towns.
No, but by adopting by the full advisory board adopting it, which is what this presages, that would be the same effect.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm trying to write in future and past simultaneously.
Yeah, I really don't see how much has changed with the funding structures in place to support the maintenance and replacement of such infrastructure is woefully inadequate. That's still
Mhm.
the case. So I'd kind of like to see you combine some of that with what you wrote.
Okay. So, to do this one over, I'm just trying to find the sentence you were talking about here. This one?
It opens up, you know, the CIP deserves praise. The overall condition of
Okay.
the third line, woefully inadequate, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Something like that. And then can
Okay.
you show us the rest of the sections? Or they continue, don't they, to meet its?
Yep.
Okay, the bottom of this one, on the
Oh, sorry.
bottom of the new draft.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
I can make it big.
I'm just going to be blunt. You wouldn't believe what my life experience has been working in that building. And
Me too.
yeah, I worked at the peak construction of the big dig for Carasiotis. And before that, and on and on and on. So this is pablum, Brian. You got to strengthen it. This was really good last year.
Mhm.
I mean, I think we have a responsibility to tell it like it is.
Sure. Well, why don't we do this if everyone's comfortable? Why don't I toughen up some of the language? We'll share a new draft probably later today, and then at our meeting on the 7th, we can approve something. Trace, if you're not happy with what is shared between now and then, let me know, and you and I can work together on some language. And assuming it meets everybody's approval, we should be able to approve something on May 7th.
Hey, Brian, if I could just add, I mean,
Yeah.
comparing the two inclusion statements here, reading both of them, it seems clear to me that you're highlighting the issues that the T has fiscally long-term and the issues inherent in the funding structure. And I think all of that comes through pretty clear. It's just using different words. And I would worry about whether or not we're going to be heard if we're basically parroting what we had sent the year previous. And I think it's important to build on previous reports, but I think in this case, you're making a different point. And it's a clear point to me when I read this, that it shouldn't just be a nuts and bolts plan. It needs to be tied to a longer vision. And so I see you making a different point here, but also supporting the point you made last year about capital needs. And I guess I wouldn't throw out the baby with the bathwater here. If you need to slightly strengthen the language, I would certainly encourage it. But I think what you have here is strong, and it makes a very concise point. And I think if we want to be heard, we need to be concise, and we need to not repeat ourselves.
Very well said.
Well, I don't think we need to repeat ourselves, but nothing's changed really. I mean, I take your point, but the problems that we were citing last year have not been fixed. Okay, so I understand that he put some good stuff in here, but these problems are not gone, and so we don't have to repeat the same language, but to pretend like these things went away is not true.
Well, you're right. The overall structural challenges remain. Things have gotten better. And for the first time in 20
Oh, no, sure.
years, they've gotten better. And I
How
don't think
they
that
got-
we should let that,
Just curious.
not acknowledge
How do
that
you-
either.
Yeah, but how do you think they've gotten better? How have they gotten better?
Phil Lang is the best general manager I've seen in 20 years and is making things physically better and faster and more reliable on the
Right.
system.
Well, put that in.
I'll
That doesn't
echo,
sound-
right. I'll echo those, and I'm not, and again, I would be one of those where I don't rely on the T, but our residents do, and we have seen a dramatic shift in the last since Phil Lang really has jumped on board. He has probably been the most competent person to join the T in many, many years. So I think that you're right, though. The frustration lies where this wasn't just last year. This was, the last 20 years, the last 30 years. The T's never been really properly funded. We all know that. So I think starting to deal with it, creating a little bit more of a relationship might be helpful too, where it's less of a, hey, we're just another entity that's telling you what you're doing wrong. Because we're still doing that anyway, But I tend to agree with Tom in his, I think, tightening up our language and also creating a little bit more of a professional environment.
Yeah, and I think the governor and the legislature has recognized the fact that they weren't properly funded in the
Right.
past and have agreed to add more funding, state funding, in this current budget proposal. So I think there is a big difference on Beacon Hill anyway, that the T is going in the right direction. So now they're spending a little bit more money on it.
And that's a good point, taking nothing away from Mr. Eng, who is phenomenal and doing great things. It's also the shaping of the environment around him and his team that's allowing for these effects that we've kind of hit this watershed moment. The momentum takes a while to shift, but it is starting, and that is important to be positive and forward focused, while calling out the areas for dire need of improvement, particularly
Yeah,
Tracy safety. Full agreement there.
That's what I'm saying. We can give kudos to Phil Lang. I mean, he's one guy, he could leave tomorrow. So let's not, and I applaud him. I agree with you. He's the only, I mean, the T used to run a lot better 20 years ago. There was always financial problems, but you didn't see what you see now. I mean, I ride the trains now, I don't even recognize, it's very different now, okay? You were probably in diapers, Brad, doing this. I'm just kidding. But yeah, so I think, giving them kudos for all the good things they've done and for Phil Lang and his team and all that is great. But I don't want to strip all this out like it's all great now, because it's still not. I mean, I just talked about the commuter rail extension on the South Shore and what happened with that. That would have never happened 20 years ago. Never. I worked on those things. We never had problems like that. So I'm just telling you. So let's do both. Let's give them compliments.
Sure.
Let's do it like a report card. What is good and what is still not good? It needs to be really improved.
So if you folks agree, let me take another crack at it. We'll toughen up certain areas. We'll make it more blunt, and we'll share probably a draft. Maybe we'll try. Are folks comfortable with the Google Doc, or is email better? Like, what's the best format to share?
Google Doc might be helpful because
Yeah.
I've been having difficulty following all the various iterations of this.
Version control is a challenge. All right, so we'll throw up a Google Doc and let folks edit as they or make or suggest edits. And then, like I said, we can work on that between now and the 7th. And on the 7th, we really should plan to vote to approve something. The vote doesn't have to be unanimous, but I would prefer it to be. And then we'll take it to the full advisory board then on the 16th.
Okay, thank you.
Sound like a plan?
Sounds good, sounds good. Do we have to vote to approve the minutes from the 16th, by the way?
So I think our minute taker was on vacation, so I don't think we have them for you, but we'll have them next time we gather.
Okay,
We actually sent them out. You do have
Look at
them.
that. You see why I need these people in my life?
yeah, they're on the invite, correct.
There you go. Well, that's why, again. Cool. So if you don't mind, let me take all that I said back and please approve please vote on the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
We have a second?
Second.
I'll
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Minutes have been approved, Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm glad you're here.
I'll move to adjourn.
All in favor? Oh, we have a second? All in favor?
second.
Aye.
Have a great day.
Thanks,
Thanks.
everybody.
We'll see
Talk
you
to you
before
soon.
Labor Day too.
So
start
10
my
o'clock
Christmas
next, 10
shopping.
o'clock next week, correct?
Yep.
7th is, I believe, the same time. I'll double
Yep,
check.
okay, 10 o'clock.
Okay,
I
great.
look forward to Arbor
Thank you.
Day too. Anyway, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.